This is our very first section in this course. You're going to be starting on page 176 in your book. 4.1 starts with ratio and proportion. And you can see the definition of a ratio on page 176. It says a ratio expresses a size relationship between two sets and is defined as a quotient. Quotient means a division problem or a fraction of two numbers. It is written using the word to, a colon, or a fraction. That is, if the ratio of men to women is 5 to 4, this could also be written as 5:4 or 5/4. It's read still 5 to 4. So we will emphasize the idea that a ratio can be written as a fraction or as a quotient of two numbers. Since a fraction can be reduced, a ratio can also be reduced. So we're going to look at example 1 on page 176 to begin with. This is the very first example, and it actually just says reduce the given ratios to lowest terms. So you're going to take each problem, and the first number you're going to put on the top of a fraction, the second number you're going to put up on the bottom of a fraction, and you're going to reduce it. Now, don't let the fact that you may be bad with fractions keep you from being able to reduce these. I'm going to pull up the calculator and I'm going to show you how you can reduce all of your fractions on your calculator. Now, this is the required calculator for this course. It's the TI-30XS. You can find it at any retail store. You can order it online. It's very inexpensive. That's why we've gone with this calculator. But this is your fraction key. So if you want to reduce a fraction, you simply hit that key, and notice it puts it up and down like a fraction. You type your first number on the top, use your arrow to go down to your second number, and then just hit enter, and it reduces the fraction for you. So the answer to the problem that we were just doing would be 1/13. So it's that simple. If we're looking at example 2, and in your book, this is actually still example 1, and let's look at C because it has a mixed number. It says 1/2 to 2. So notice the little green fraction up here is a mixed number, so we're going to hit second, and it's going to put it in the form of a mixed number. So 1 and 1/2. Use your arrow to go across. The word to, in this case for mathematical purposes, is going to be the division symbol. So just like we did division in this one, the fraction symbol is a division key, it's the same thing here. So we're going to go divided by, and it says 2 is your next number, so you're going to put a 2 in there, you're going to hit enter, and it gives you 3/4. So 3/4 or 3/4 would be your ratio. It's going to reduce it for you. D, example D is another one. It's 1 2/3. So I'm going to put my fraction there. 1 2/3 divided by 3 3/4. Whoops. It's very easy when you make a mistake. Just use your arrow and hit delete. It's going to take that number off. I'm going to put my 4 in there. Use my arrow to go again and hit enter. So this one would be a 4:9 ratio. So you're simply going through, you're putting them in a fraction, and you're reducing them. So that's what you're doing for all of these problems. It would be a really good idea now for you to pause this video, go over to page 179, and look at level 2, drill and practice, and pick a couple of the problems and see if you can do them. So like if you were doing number 12, it says the ratio of cars to people is 1 to 3. So you would write 1/3 as your fraction, and make sure you can reduce them. So some of these will be fractions that need to be reduced, like number 14. The ratio of gallons to miles is 20 to 4. So you would put 20/4. and you would reduce that. Now, if we put that one in our calculator, then we just have a regular fraction, so 20 over 4, this is going to reduce down to the number 5. Now, these are ratios, so since they're ratios, you're going to need to write it like this. It's still the number 5, but because it's a ratio, it needs to have 2 numbers with it. So you would write the ratio like this, and they're asking you to write it without, they're asking you to write it as reduced fractions. So this would be the way it would need to be written there. You don't just write the whole number for a ratio, because you've got to know that it's got that other number with it. So that's what you need to be doing on these. So like I said, pause the video, work a couple of the problems, check your answers. The answer key is posted in Moodle under resources, so you can pull it up and see your answers and make sure you're doing them correctly. The other concept we have in this section is proportion. This starts on page 177. Now, a proportion is a little different. It says a proportion is a statement of equality between ratios. Now, the important part here is where it says between ratios. This means that a proportion will have 2 ratios. So you can see how they've labeled it here in your book as A is to B, as C is to D. The equal sign is between the 2 fractions. So these 2 fractions are ratios, and they're read just like this says here, A is to B as C is to D. You'll see some notations in different books. Usually you're going to see, instead of the equal sign, you may see it written this way, as with your colon for your ratio, just like we did for the ratio, and then 2 colons here in the middle instead of the equal signs. Most things that you're going to see, you will have the equal sign though, and you will have the 2 fractions joined by the equal sign. You can see these are labeled as extremes, so the top on one side and the bottom on the other are the extremes. The 2 here in the middle, the top on this side and the bottom on this one, are the means, and that's just the definition of those. So in some of the problems in your book, you're going to be asked to label the means and extremes. So you just need to be able to look at those and see what they are. So this first one that has 2/3 equals 10 over 15. The means would be the 3 and the 10, the inside ones. The extremes are the 2 and the 15. So if you're going from left to right, you've got the extremes going this way. It's like a big X in the middle. So the extremes this way and the means this way. For this section, you are going to be using something called the property of proportions. And what it really says is that the product, which means multiplication, of the means equals the product of the extremes. Now I know that's math language, but what we want to do is look at how it's used. If you look at the example here on the slide, it says tell whether each pair of ratios forms a proportion. Now, here's a ratio and here's a ratio. They're both fractions. Notice that this one is not reduced. When you put them with a proportion, they're not probably going to be reduced because they're equivalent forms of the same fraction. So what you're doing here is you're checking to see if these 2 fractions are really equivalent. And you could just reduce them both to check, but the easiest thing to do is to use this property, and you can say 3 times 48, get an answer, and then do 4 times 36. And if they match, it means that it is a proportion. So you can see down here where we've done the work, 4 times the 36 is 144, 3 times 48 is 144, so they do form a proportion. If we look at the next one, 16 times 7 is 112, 5 times 22 is 110. That's not equal, and that's what this symbol means, so they do not form a proportion. That's how you tell. You just simply cross multiply, and if the 2 answers are the same, They're a proportion. If the two are not the same, they are not a proportion. Now these are the examples that come from your book in 4.1. What you're going to want to do now, you've got some options, and let me log into Moodle and I'll show you. This video that I'm showing you will be listed here under Complete Lesson 4.1. So this is your lesson for this course. And then when you go back into Moodle, it says Webassign 4.1, do 8:17, and that's noon. Everything's noon. So what you're going to do now is you're going to log into Webassign and you're going to do homework problems, and these are just like the problems that are in the book. So you're doing homework 4.1. You can also go up here if you want a couple of other things. There's a calculator reference sheet that you might want to print out. It shows you how to use this calculator. It shows you the buttons on it. This is the supplemental book homework. So these are the ones for Chapter 4 that shows you the answers to the ones in the book. If you want to do those, you can pull this up. It tells you which ones that you need to be responsible for Chapter 4. The answers are right here, your solutions guide. So right here, every problem has the answer and the solution to it. The book homework, remember, is not required. It's just something that you might want to do to make sure you understand. The Webassign assignment is required. All the things that are required are right here under Chapter Assignments. So the first thing you did was learn how to register for Webassign, do an introductory discussion, the orientation for Webassign to make sure that you understand how to put answers in. This is your lesson for 4.1. This video is inside this lesson. Your Webassign is right here. You're going to log into it, do this first thing. You might even want to, some of you who like to have notes, you could go up here under PowerPoints and Notes. You could do this for every assignment that you have. You can go in and you can click File, Print, and you can tell it, instead of doing full page slides, do 3 slides, and what that does is it puts the slide with little notes beside it so that you can work the problems with me in the videos, that type thing. So those are really good for people who like to have notes. So you can do this for everything that you do. So this is your lesson. Then you're going to do your Webassign. Then there's a quiz that's due dates and times. The time is always noon. Then you have a lab. The lab will be problems that were just like it. I've put a video in here to help you with submitting assignments because that's going to be the hard part for some of you. But you can see when I click on it, it's just the same kinds of things that are in this section. So you'll work these problems and then you will submit them to me following these directions. So this is what we're doing for this section. This is your very first one. So as always, contact me if you have questions.